Right, here's a quick tutorial on bringing something into Inkscape to convert it into a vector. Right, so I'm in Inkscape. I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to find the drawing. There's the one that you sent. Open that out. You'll get this dialog box up. I just leave it at the top selected. The other two aren't. Might cause problems with editing in Inkscape. Doesn't really matter, but stick with the top one. It should be fine. I know it's working as it was, so it's a little bit on the big side. Let's just bring it back in. Control to constrain it. Come on. Finding Inkscape a bit janky, to be honest. Right, okay. There it is. Once you've got it size you want, go up to Path and Trace Bitmap, and this brings up this little dialog box here. You've got a number of different options you can go through. There's different ways that you can get Inkscape to treat your image when it makes the vectors. So brightness cutoff means that Inkscape will put vectors where it sees a change between dark and light. Edge detection means it will find hard edges and put vectors around those. Color quantization is probably more use if you're doing something with a photograph rather than a graphic like this. Auto trace just kind of does its own thing, and centerline will try to put a single vector down the middle of where any of these changes are. I'm just sticking with brightness cutoff at the moment. Threshold, I've just left it at 0.5. You put it up to 1, you can see that the whole thing disappears. Put it down to 0.01, and it doesn't really pick up. It's picking up very thin lines, so there's a chance you might miss some of these thin bits. So leave it in the middle. You can play around with these and see what works. Speckles, smooth corners, these things are probably more useful if you're tracing photographs rather than a graphic like this. But again, have a play, see what works out. Once you're set up, just hit OK. You can close that, and that's it. So you now have two objects, one of which is your original image, and the other one is now this set of vectors. So you've got two vectors running inside each other, which is kind of what you wanted, and then the blank space. It gets a bit thin up here. To be honest, I think with something like this, I would probably redraw it from scratch. I would probably draw these vectors out by hand to begin with rather than try and trace them, but it's handy to know how to do it. Once you've got your traced vector and you're happy with it, I don't know why it's come out slightly distorted. It didn't do previously. I'll have a look and see if I can figure that out. Once you've got your vector, select it, File, Save As, and remember to turn it into a plain SVG so that Blender will recognize it. Save it. Job done.